Welcome to Scouting the Meta. I'm Kim Jung Timo, and today we'll be talking about the jungle, July 15th, 26th. Let's jump into the popular picks. Our most popular pick was Gragas. He was picked in a total of 73 games in the past 2 weeks, and he won 38 of the 73. Gragas is pretty much everything you could ask for out of a tank jungler's kit, including engage and disengage. Gragas has great clear speed as well as great sustain, which allows him to apply a lot of early pressure to the map. This has been seen as one of the strongest junglers pretty much since the Cinderhulk was introduced. He was so strong that Riot tried to nerf him by reducing the missile width on his body slam. This didn't hurt him much as he's still one of the most highly contested junglers in the game right now. And he'll also probably stay that way until either the meta shifts or he sees bigger nerfs than he did previously. Just because his kit offers so many tools that helps out a team. He has multiple engage tools including his body slam and his explosive cask, which also doubles as a disengage tool. Very few junglers offer that type of versatility in their kit. So unless Gragas gets nerfed, I'd expect to see him all the way throughout Worlds, because he is the most highly contested jungle pick right now, because he is getting the most picks and bans. So having said all that, I wouldn't be too surprised if anytime soon he were to see some really heavy nerfs, because Riot doesn't really have a good history on nerfing the strongest champion and bringing them down to the level of the champions below them. Usually they end up getting put down below the second tier of champion. So as the meta stands right now, I believe if they were to nerf Gragas, that Rek'sai would be the outright strongest unless she got nerfed at the same time. But if they were both to be nerfed, they would probably both end up below Echo, Evelynn, and Nidalee in strength. So unless he gets nerfed in the near future, I'd expect him to be the strongest pick for a while still. Our second most popular jungler is Rek'sai, who's a very early game focused champion. Although she's very early game focused, she still brings a lot of utility to the late game. She brings a global pressure with her Void Rush that allows her to be anywhere on the map at any time as long as she has placed tunnels preemptively. A great Rek'sai player will use her early game power to create advantages for the late game. Rek'sai is also one of the few junglers that have two potential build paths, being Warrior and Cinderhulk. Although most junglers opt for Cinderhulk pretty much all the time, some of them will still build Warrior when they get really far ahead. She's also one of the few junglers that can build Black Cleaver very effectively, especially when she's playing with a double AD comp. Rek'Sai's most powerful tool is her Void Rush, which is her ultimate, and it allows her to be anywhere on the map as long as she has her tunnel there. Some of the most powerful uses of Void Rush include pick potential, objective control, and simply just refilling on health and rejoining a fight. Rek'Sai does a very good job at maintaining a lead and snowballing it further. And she doesn't need to keep building damage to do that either. She can just build tank and still snowball the game. I believe she is just as powerful, if not just behind Gragas in power level. And I believe she'll stay that way until she sees some sort of nerfs, because she just provides so much utility with her Void Rush, as well as some of the most powerful early game pressure that actually transitions well late game whether ahead or not. So I'll be expecting to see her a lot all the way through Worlds, barring any nerfs. Next up on our list is everyone's favorite time traveler, Echo. Echo hasn't seen as much play in North America and Europe lately, but he's still seeing a lot of play over in China and a little bit over in Korea. He's been picked 22 times in the last 2 weeks with mediocre results, only winning 8 of those games. Now I don't think that makes him a bad jungle pick, it just means he hasn't been seeing the results he would want. He still provides a lot of utility in his kit with his slow and his stun, while still providing a lot of damage even though he's building full tank. So I think he's a really strong pick that provides a lot of early game pressure while providing a lot of late game utility, like our last two junglers. But since he's still a fairly new champion, I don't think they've quite mastered the art of Echo yet. But I don't think it will matter because it looks like Riot's going to nerf tank Echo. So once 5.15 rolls around in competitive servers, we probably won't be seeing him much unless people start picking up Runeglaive. But the Cinderhulk build will definitely be going away, that's for sure. So if you enjoy playing or watching Cinderhulk Echo, make sure to get your fill in before it's gone. So our next champion is another one who sees a lot of play over in the east but not as much in the west, and that's Evelynn. Evelynn was picked in 34 games, but she only won 13 of them. And I'm going to repeat what I said about Echo. I don't think she's a bad champion. I just don't think she's been seeing good results lately. I think in the right hands, such as someone like Clearlove, she's a great pick. because Evelynn is the definition of early game pressure, because she just can't be seen unless she's in your face early game. So brief history, she was nerfed about a year ago, and then a few months ago she was buffed again, and then since MSI she's been seeing a little bit more play here and there. Some of the players who have been playing her really well, such as Clearlove, have been playing her to almost mastery. I just think she's a champion that you pretty much need to master to do pretty well at, and a lot of these players didn't play her for almost a year, so they kind of lost that skill. Because Evelynn is that champion that early game can be anywhere at any time, and you don't know where, and not every player can use that to their full advantage. The players that do great with her know exactly how to do that, and the ones that don't just kind of tend to power farm with her for a while, and it doesn't really pay off. She did see some small damage nerfs to her Q on the last patch, but I'm not entirely convinced it's going to kill her competitively. I still see some of the Evelynn masters, such as Clearlove, just dominating with her. And whereas Gragas and Rek'sai seem to be some of the go-to champions, I expect Evelynn to be that niche pick for certain junglers. When Worlds comes around and you're watching EDG and she doesn't get banned away, I'd expect her to get picked sometimes, because it's one of Clearlove's best champions. The last on our list for most popular junglers is Nidalee, everyone's favorite cat. After being a top mid lane pick and then a top lane pick in Season 4, she's here in the jungle in Season 5. She still does pretty much the same thing, which is throw spears and jump on people and murder them, but she's doing it from a different spot now. She saw a rise in popularity in the jungle earlier on in the season, but then it died out a little bit when Cinderhulk became everyone's favorite item, and she's seeing a bit of resurgence lately. And I believe that's a result of nerf after nerf to Cinderhulk, although it's still strong, and then Runeglade being introduced, which helps out Nidalee's burst a lot. She is definitely the strongest carry jungler currently, as she's really the only full damage assassin that's being played out of the jungle competitively. She does the same thing old AP Nidalee did out of the mid lane, and that's poke and pick. And one of the other things that's helped her resurgence in popularity lately is poke mid laners becoming more and more popular. Between AP Ezreal, Varus, and Jace becoming more and more popular, the poke comp has become a lot stronger. And since there really aren't any other powerful poke champions out of the jungle, that kind of just makes Nidalee the default if you want a poke champion out of the jungle. And Nidalee's not a champion that's found her way into every jungler's champion pool, but she's finding her way into more and more jungler's champion pools, such as I Will Dominate recently. A lot of teams are banning her, but it's only against certain junglers, so I don't think she's necessarily too strong. She's just really dangerous in the right hands. Our next segment is Ban Prison, where we go over our top banned champions. Gragas was the most banned champion as well as most picked in the last 2 weeks with 36 bans, and he was closely followed by some of our other most popular junglers, including Echo with 28, Nidalee with 26, and then Rek'Sai with 23. And the one thing all four of these junglers have in common is they have really strong early game pressure. And since most junglers have such small champion pools, if you ban and pick away most of their champion pool, they're really left with nothing left to pick. So some junglers, such as H2K's Lulex, if you ban away Rek'Sai and pick away Gragas, he doesn't really have much of a champion pool left. And that's why banning away junglers can be so strong, even if they're not really too overpowered. Because sometimes banning out the weakest link can be stronger than banning out the strongest link. And today for our fresh picks, I want to talk about Shyvana. The half dragon was picked 3 times by High in the past 2 weeks for Cloud9. He was really the only one willing enough to try the Sated Devourer, and it really worked out for him. They won all 3 games they played with Shyvana in jungle, allowing them to lock in 7th place and avoid relegations. I think Shyvana is really the only viable Sated Devourer pick out there for competitive play, because after finishing the Devour item, she can go help out in team fights thanks to the tankiness her dragon form gives her. And she can stack her Devourer that way rather than power farming and ignoring her team. I really only expect to see this picked more in more niche situations. I don't really see it being a go-to pick for anyone. But as High showed, she can be a really strong pick in the right circumstances. And next up is our awards part of the video, and first up is our top of the class, Rek'Sai, who won 39 over 67 games, only losing 28 of those. which is definitely the best record of any jungler of the last 2 weeks. Bottom feeder this week is Evelynn, who is 13-21 over 34 games. And as I said earlier, I don't think she's a bad pick. I just don't think everyone has how to play Evelynn down quite yet. And last up is our roundup, where we go over the other jungle picks in the last 2 weeks. First up is Evelynn, who was seen in 14 games with a 500 record. Elise, who's seen only in 5 games, but after 5.14 I expect to see a lot more of her. Jarvan IV, who was picked twice. Vi, who was also picked twice. Nunu, who was picked in 5 games. Rengar, who was picked in 3 but didn't win any of them. Zach, who was picked in one of TDK's last games of their LCS career. Fizz, who was picked twice by Spirit, a World Elite. Nautilus, who saw some play from CLG's Smithy. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe below and make sure to follow me on Twitter at KimJongTimo. Thank you, and hope you join me next time for Scouting the Meta.